What's going on, everybody? It's Dinkelberg here again, and today we're going to be talking about engines, and finally we're going to be getting to superstructures. So without further ado, I'd like to just get right into it because I think it's really important that we start now because this video is going to be long if we don't. So the first thing that you want to know about engines is that you have to have a background before you start your engines. What do I mean by a background? You have to have some sort of layer behind the engines themselves so that when you build the engines, you're not just staring into this like empty cavern of a Star Destroyer. You have to actually cover it up. So usually I'd recommend doing some details, but for this small little Star Destroyer and for most beginners, I'd highly recommend using cobblestone, just as a background that you put across this layer right here. Straight across. You don't have to put it along the bevel or anything. You don't have to put it there. Just straight across right here. The reason that I'd recommend cobblestone is because it gives a little bit of a contrast between the stone bricks so that it's not so um, it's just not the same thing throughout the whole thing, so it doesn't make it as boring. And it also looks a little bit more engine-y and mechanical, I think. The cobblestone actually has a bit of a rougher look to it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, which is what you want back in the engine compartments. So now that we've got our background set up, we need to actually put the engines in themselves. The way to determine your engines is, first of all, they're always going to be circles, and if you don't know how to build a circle in Minecraft, I'd highly recommend going to Minecraft Circle Chart. Just Google Minecraft Circle Chart, and there will be a bunch of little images that pop up showing you how to build circles in Minecraft, and it's really easy and very, very helpful. So since this is 3 blocks tall, right, we're probably going to want to do a 3 by 3 circle, and we're going to determine how far apart we want to make it. So do we want it closer, like this, or does that not look as good, right? Does that look a little wonky, right? That's a little off center, so we're probably not going to want to do that. What we're going to want to do instead is we're going to want to take this one back here and put it there, and take that one back there. That looks a little bit better, right? And if you're building an actual Star Destroyer like the Executor or something like that, then you're not going to really you're not going to have as much room to determine like what looks good. You're going to have to build it as it is. So if you had to put an engine in the middle, let's say, then all you would do is you would just connect it like this, right? And then you just have 3 engines. And sometimes you can put some caps on the end of them. Depends on what the engine looks like, and if it has a cap on it, like if it looks like it's a bit more detailed, then you should probably throw some stone slabs on there. But for these, we don't really have to leave them as detailed, so we could just leave them like this. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to grab yourself a sea lantern, because they look the best in my opinion for Star Wars engines. I mean, I just really, really like the way they look, especially for the engines. So that's it for building engines. Just make sure you have your background, and then put the engines themselves on there. Sorry if I'm rushing a little bit. I just want to make sure that we have enough time in this video. It's really not that hard. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the superstructure itself. Now the first thing you'll notice is that if I try building a superstructure on top of here, just like I would in a normal flat ground environment, it's not going to work. It's the same thing in like a hilly environment or something, right? If you try and just build it like this and just, oh, I'll just put my superstructure right here, that looks so wonky, right? Because it's just sticking out of the ship. So that doesn't work. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that it flows along with the lines themselves and that it's not too tall. So for the example of this video, we're just going to do one little superstructure at the back, and that's it, because in my opinion that's going to look the best. So what you're going to want to do is, if you're building on slabs, you have to actually take them out like this, right? And then you have to put the superstructure in. Quick tip is always leave the slabs open like this, if you can. If you can't, then obviously don't delete these 2 blocks, but if you can leave it open so that you can see, so that if you place a block here and you're like, oh wait, that's not actually where I wanted it to go, and you take this out, you can remember, oh yeah, I have to replace this with a slab. So that's a good tip for you. So what we're going to do is, if we're going to build our superstructures on the slab, then we're just going to take out the slabs that we want to use for the superstructure, right? So we're going to use all of these, and go over, take out all the slabs that you want to use for the superstructure, and I would definitely recommend putting your stone bricks on the superstructure itself, like this, right? And there you go. So that's how we build our superstructure. And typically what I recommend is for the first layer of your superstructure, just always put stone slabs to cover it up, like this. Is it morning? Yeah, it should be morning. I set the time today. I don't know why it's taking so long. Anyway, so put the stone like this to cover up. But as we're here, look at how cool that engine looks. Um, anyway, so while we're here, cover it with stone, right? Oop, put one there by accident. Cover it with stone slabs like such. And then obviously if you have a block like this in the middle, you can just delete it. And it's a little bit confusing because this isn't a stone block, but I think that it'll work anyway. So you can delete it like that, and that way you can have your superstructure roofed like this, right? Whoops. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I know that it might be confusing because I had to rush it, but I really wanted to keep it under 10 minutes, and I think I did that successfully. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Another tip real quick before we end is that if your superstructure is looking like this, notice how it's a little bit blocky. What you can do is you can just take out a block. And these are things that you'll just pick up on as you go throughout your Minecraft building experience, is that sometimes you just got to make decisions like this, where it's like, oh, this is looking a little blocky, so I'm going to take this out. If there was a hole here, then you would just put a stone slab in. If there's not a hole there, then you would just leave it, because obviously that means that you're building on top of another diorite block. So if there is a hole there, you just replace it with a stone slab, and then boom, there you go. Looks a little bit better already. So in the next video, we're going to be talking about the bridge itself, and we'll also be talking about detailing for the ship, the final details. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. As I said before, leave any questions or concerns in the comments down below, and I'll try to get to them all. Thanks, guys.